Year's almost over. And yet, I hadn't reviewed this one. It got my attention because of a special certain thing that's taking place next month, I think. So, I had to review it. Glad I did. Let's get to it. Djesse, Volume 3, is the fourth studio album released by Jacob Collier. We're going to talk about that here today on Y.E.S. I feel kind of weird that this guy was not on my radar previously till the Grammys announced that this album was nominated for Album of the Year. I'm seriously perplexed as to why just now this is like crossing my path. I'm stunned, actually. Regardless, I've heard him now, and there's quite a backstory to this guy. Originating from the UK, Jacob Collier is quite the... I don't know what the word really is. Can't really say protege, because it seems like he's self-teaching himself a lot. I think he's getting a lot of influence from other people. He's had opportunities to collaborate, or just, be in the same room and play with people like Quincy Jones and Herbie Hancock, and probably more than that, but I mean, those two examples alone is already like maximum legendary capacity. And listening to this album multiple times, I am more interested to see what the rest of his discography is like and potentially is going to be like. Now, I stress the multiple times part because the first time I listened to this album, I noted that there were things that I like, but I didn't really get it at first. I kind of just let it come in one ear and sort of out the other, but my brain was still processing it a little bit because I wasn't really sure what did I just listen to. And after the second time, I think I got a much firmer grip on some of the ideas and some of the sounds that Jacob was putting in here. Now I'm going to try to explain what I think Jacob Collier's sound is like, at least from this album. Other examples, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to go and check those out. But this album in particular, it feels very much like someone really, really cares about what kind of production quality he puts into his own music. And at the same time, it almost feels like he's holding it back on purpose, not to like make it worse than it needs to be, but I think he's trying to be careful that it isn't too mainstream and that he'll just lose it to, again, not necessarily a mass audience, but kind of like to the aura or to the fawning and love that kind of a mass audience would try to say like they need to put it in. Essentially, he's trying to make sure that his music is indeed taken seriously as quality music and not being forced into some mainstream label just to get more people's attention. I think he hopes that other people will want to listen to his music and catch on to it. And I think I'm on board with the majority of this album. An example of trying to get on board with the album would be his song Time Alone With You with Daniel Caesar. Time alone with you. Oh, yeah. You can skip the border all night. It's a little slow at the beginning. Actually, it kind of just continues to have a slow pace, and I've made my opinions clear on a couple of songs in a few different albums this year where I feel like maybe your tempo should be taken up a little bit, but in this case, I don't think so. I think you just have to get used to it, and I think if you listen intently enough, you will appreciate why it is at the tempo that it is. The song that I knew that I loved, even the first time I listened to it, was the song Sleeping on My Dreams. The chorus is just so funky, and I'm just like, if he really wanted to make this a mainstream album, he could have started out with this song, and I think people would have just gone to love that album. Maybe some of them would have thought, oh, well, the rest of it wasn't quite like that. And no, it's not. But again, people who have ears and people who are willing to take in the time to listen to music would love it. Another highlight that I'd like to mention is his feature with Tori Kelly, which is titled Running Out of Love. I didn't dislike this song the first time I heard it, but I only really got it the second time around, and I'm thrilled that Tori Kelly was able to get a shot to collaborate with an artist such as this. It makes me think, okay, Jacob Collier has an idea of what others can do to help his music out. This also goes for other people he has featured on the album, such as T-Pain, Kimbra, Rhapsody, Ty Dolla $ign. He utilizes all these different artists from a vocal perspective, not necessarily an artist perspective all the time, but definitely vocally. These artists are able to create the highlight with their voices. It isn't necessarily based on their artistry in the past. It's based on what they're able to do alongside with the music. The vocals and the production, the arrangement, composition, everything molding together to try and make something good. Now, having said that, I think that there's a lot of people who are probably super music nerds that are going to see this album as flawless. Perhaps. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong. For me, I don't think this album is flawless. I just really enjoy the things that I now recognize that I do like. But having said that, there's a couple of spots in here where I'm just like, well, maybe this is just my taste, but it is something that bothers me, so I'll just mention it. These would be kind of short songs, or as I would like to call them, long interludes. His introduction track, Clarity, not bad. This is probably fine. It's just some of the mixing that goes into this, I thought it was not totally up to par with everything else. Then with the song Butterflies and the song Light It Up On Me, these ones I just thought, there's moments where I'm just like, it feels somewhat more experimental on purpose. And some people are just going to love the fact that it's experimental. And for me, it's like, I don't mind that. I just want it to land correctly. It's kind of like launching a model rocket ship into the sky, and then it's supposed to come down with one of those parachutes, and sometimes they fall very gradually and are able to land very calmly and safely. And then other times it will just come down really hard and crash. It might be a gorgeous model and it might have gone up really cool, but if it doesn't land the way it's supposed to, it didn't go entirely well. Even though the launch was pretty awesome, you kind of wish that it would land better. I would say a lot of this production reminds me of the really in-depth Kanye West and a lot of Bon Iver, somewhere in between those two. But I respect both of those artists' production, and in this case, if I can make those two comparisons, from my perspective at least, I think I'm on board, and so I'm interested to see what else we have here. I am genuinely curious what his other music is going to sound like, because in my brain, this is another weird comparison for me to explain, but it kind of feels like the 2010s Cartoon Network in a little bit. Now, I really don't like those cartoons. I see the appeal for a lot of people, but it kind of feels like they're purposely making it awkward, and they don't realize how good of the comedy or the entertainment that they have if they just tweaked it ever so slightly. And I don't think that's the best comparison for Jacob Collier's music. I'm just saying, in a way, that's what I was reminded of. I know it's kind of twisted, but really, I think Jacob Collier's got something really special here. And I'm going to sound like a broken record, I know. I'm going to listen to his other music, and maybe I will gradually get more on board once I understand maybe what angle he's trying to aim his music at. I think I have an idea, but I think I need more in-depth understanding based on his past works as well. So, after having listened and reviewed this album, I'm going to give production an A, creativity a B, expression and lyrics a B, and how would I recommend this album? I'm going to give it a yeah/good. That's what I'm feeling right now. As I mentioned before, I could gradually love this album more. This is kind of where I feel like it's at, because I do feel like it's held back from this angle that I'm viewing it at the moment. But despite that, I think this album deserves more attention, and I think other people should give it a chance. It may not be as great of a mainstream thing as you would prefer it to be, but you might just like it because it's not. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to follow me in my social media links down in the description below, and be sure to leave a like for the video as well as a comment down below if you want to engage with me. And remember, if you want to discover, promote, and review the best in entertainment, be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can get that yes in your life. See you next time.